Yes. Make it happen!
Boom! That was sick.
You're an island owner now.
Booyah! Wow, as mentioned in yesterday's update, we did break out of this pattern, guys. But if we look on this weekly chart that takes us all the way back with 3 years worth of volume data, you can see this huge, in fact, the second largest area going back 3 entire years on the chart that we're coming up on. If Bitcoin can bounce anywhere, then it could bounce there. Wow, we have to talk about why that level is so significant, and if so, what would the price action over the next day or two be? As well, like we talked about in yesterday's update, Bitcoin did get rejected at the 50-day moving average right here, but we haven't actually come down all the way to the 21 yet, and we have some other targets that we want to take a look at. Bitcoin clearly is getting a pullback today, but will this continue, and if so, where could it find support, and what length of time could need to go by before we find the support? And guys, Bitcoin is currently breaking out of this pattern it's been in for almost an entire month, but we still have our one red line that we've been mentioning for a few weeks, and why that's so significant, let's take a look at that. And finally, a perfect storm is brewing for the Bitcoin price. There's actually a few fundamental reasons why this is insanely bullish, and specifically a certain time frame that it could get bullish. But there is the possibility that the next month or so could see some selling pressure before things get absolutely explosive. One thing's for sure, the end of 2020 is going to be insane. Wow, like my mother always used to say, stop chewing on that. Let's do this. Wow, what's going on, my little Chungai Lungai? Welcome back to another extremely exciting episode, guys. Awesome stuff. In this video, we're going to be picking a winner for this ledger. But good news, we got more ledgers. Woo, we got more of them. If you're new, hit the dings, hit the subscribes, and let's do this. Wow, and I did just want to give a quick update. All the channels that we were mentioning in yesterday's video actually got their channels back, so seems like it could have been a mistake. They also kind of had videos that were on more risky topics that didn't really have to do with crypto. So maybe there was some confusion there, but without any further ado, let's do this. Guys, so I want to start out on this chart. We've been talking about this one for a while. It's been scary accurate. And in fact, it's actually coming down to this level, this red line that we've been mentioning. Okay, guys, you know, this has been very key with determining support and resistance on these upward sloping trend lines for the past few weeks. But we've broken that as of the last 5 4-hour candles, or 4 4-hour candles. You can see we're coming down. So what targets do we have to look for? The bottom of this is right around 66, but we think if we're going to continue getting a pullback, we could go slightly lower. And the first thing I want to point out to you here is this. This is the VPVR, but I have it pulled back so it incorporates data for the past 3 years, going all the way back to January of 2017. So actually a little bit more than 3 years. And if there's one thing you notice on this chart, this right here is a massive level of volume. This is obviously the biggest right here. You can see that around like the 3,000, but this one, okay, this is huge. We actually just got rejected basically right off here, right around the 75, okay, which is a pretty big level. Now you can see on the VPVR, this is, I'm going to trace it for you in case you're on a phone or something or you can't see it. You can see this is where we got rejected, a pretty substantial amount. Now this right here is a huge amount of traded volume, and I think that's going to probably hold up as a pretty good level. If we continue going down, I think this is a very solid level where I don't think we're just going to smash right through, guys. So if we're going to get a pullback, this is what I think makes the most sense for right now. This could change in the next 24 hours as different price action plays out. So I'll update you tomorrow, obviously. But specifically right now, this looks really good, okay? If you're curious, if you're thinking, wow, what could happen over the next day? I think this makes a lot of sense. So this is right around the $6,400 level. Currently, as I'm filming this, and this might change by the time it gets up, the price is at $68.72, okay? So we're about $300-400 above that level right now. So that's one thing. Now, if we actually switch to this chart, this shows us the exact same thing. 64 right here is also, if we would bounce off the top of this descending channel, it goes back 9 months. So that level also perfectly lines up with that price target right here. Okay, so again, another reason why I think 64 is so important, and you can see the VPVR actually going back even the past 3 months, you can see this level is pretty important. You have it right here. The point of control on this chart is actually around 66, which is exactly where the 21-day moving average is right here, this blue line. So we smashed through the 50-day moving average right here. Or sorry, we didn't smash through it. We smashed and bounced off of it. So we went up to it, tested it for like 4 days, and then got smashed below it. Okay, now we're kind of getting sandwiched, maybe like a hot dog or some kind of other sandwich in between these two lines right here. Okay, so we have this one here and this one, the 21 and the 50. So right now we didn't even go all the way down to this just yet, but we did get a little bit of a bounce. Now guys, again, I personally think if we're going to see more downside over the next day or two, 64 is a really good level where we can maintain optimism. Okay, obviously we get pullbacks all the time. We went up for a significant amount of days over the past few months, over the past month. So getting a nice pullback like we see all the time makes sense, and 64 would be a very healthy continuation here, okay? And we actually talked about revisiting the top of this channel basically as we were breaking through it back here on April 3rd and 4th. It's just pretty common to revisit a pattern once you break out of it. So if we actually switch to our triangle, the ascending triangle, which is probably out of all three of these patterns, this is probably the chart I like the least. But if we look at this ascending pattern, you see clearly we found that resistance right here, which goes all the way back to this this really long pattern here, broadening wedge that we broke out of and completely plummeted down to like 3,000 or 4,000 about a month ago. That's where we found the resistance there, okay? But more importantly, we got sandwiched like we were talking about yesterday, and we got a little bit of a push down. Now we did get a little bounce right kind of in the triangle, and currently we're back right now about 68.70 on this chart, right? So that doesn't look too bad. There's not too much that I can gather from this chart specifically by itself, but again, you do have the VPVR, same thing here. Those charts all mimic that on those time frames. But yeah, overall, I think with this chart here, I think this would be a really good level to see some continued downside and then a bounce over the next, over the next 5 or so days. And same thing here. Now, guys, we're going into the weekend. So last weekend was perfect. Last weekend, we had very little price action on the weekend, and as soon as the week opened up, we saw price action, which is awesome, because then we can kind of avoid those pesky gaps, and we can get that out of our minds. Will that happen this weekend? I'm not so sure. A lot of the times there is price action on weekends, but it'll be interesting to see if Bitcoin does anything substantial over the weekend. Again, last weekend, really nothing happened. We literally traded sideways for like 2 straight days. So I'm hoping, again, that happens this time. Guys, very interesting article that I want to get into. But actually, before we do the article, we can give away this bad boy. So let me pull up the video. Okay, copy. Okay, we can paste the URL. I'm trying it in a new browser, and it sometimes doesn't work in this one. Okay, so get YouTube comments. Okay, and then, yeah, 319. And then we can start this bad boy. Jason Parker, King Crypto 6T. Awesome, dude. And thanks so much, guys, because you left your Twitter handle there. I don't even need to wait for you to contact me. I can just shoot you a message on Twitter. The reason I asked you to do that without the @ symbol is because I think the @ symbol automatically marks it as spam. Automatically, YouTube will mark that as spam. So I'm not even sure if that's true, but just to be safe, that's why I asked that. But very cool, Jason. I will hit you up after this video. And guys, as well, if you want to enter for these ledgers, make sure to leave that, smash that comment below. Let's actually get into this article. This is really exciting, guys. Perfect storm for Bitcoin is brewing. This was published by Kyle Torpy on Forbes. This is huge. So some points I have highlighted. The excitement around the price of Bitcoin may only increase over the next 34 days. As the third halving event in Bitcoin's history approaches, for those who don't know, I mean, you guys already probably know that, so I'll skip that part. As outlined, the halving has the side effect of putting newly created Bitcoin into stronger hands due to the fact that inefficient miners with small margins will be pushed off the network once the block reward subsidy is cut in half. So this is why it gets bullish. Capitulation is a good thing, okay? It's removing inefficient miners. They no longer get rewards, and their rewards get allocated to the efficient miners, the guys that have deployed correctly, that have low electricity costs, and those that are strong hands. So if Bitcoin is in strong hands, they don't have to sell as much Bitcoin, basically. They don't have to sell it to maintain their mining operation or their lifestyles or whatever it is. Their margins are good, and they don't have to sell as much of it, so sell pressure is less in general on the network. It's going to be extremely healthy, he says, but he also says here that it could be some short-term pain as this happens because the inefficient miners will remove themselves from the network and they'll be incentivized to operate at a loss, okay? And that creates some sell pressure because they're selling it. They're basically mining it to sell it, okay? It says here the Bitcoin they're mining is going to get sold basically to support what they're doing. It could take 2 to 3 months for inefficient miners to get blown off the network, okay? If it stays at the current price level, so that's huge. So basically, this is kind of like the beginning of a few month transition because the halving's here where the miners are going to be affected, and guys, that will drastically affect price. We love TA, but fundamental reasons of why Bitcoin's price will change is also very interesting. And the one thing that I forgot to add during the initial video is this, guys. This is kind of where we're actually finding potentially some short-term support right now, which is this red line, which I somehow forgot in the initial analysis of the video here. So obviously this is our main area if we're going to get a pullback where we think there could be a strong bounce, but this is a very important level as well, guys. We fell through here, and this is right around the 69.50, and currently we're actually finding support right there. So that could be a very significant thing. Again, guys, this is a line that goes back the past like 9 or 10 months, so pretty important. I think this is the least important of these 3 lines, but again, I still think it is important of the 3 red lines. So guys, thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.